What governments have been trying to do, and it's a trend, it's talk about connectivity. But I guess that most of them have not realized that it is not connectivity the most important part, but there's something linked to it, which is the access to information.
Exactly right. It's the information itself that has the value, not so much the access. And then when you look at governments, historically, governments have not been very good about sharing information. One of the biggest opportunities in this century, hopefully, will be breaking down the walls that keep information away from the citizens because it's held by the governments. But historically, governments have not been renowned for sharing information.
Correct. And how would you say that entrepreneurship is related to the access to information?
I continue to believe that Israel Kirzner was right, that entrepreneurship is about a unique insight that you have that basically no one else has. That's the asymmetry. It's positive because you're going to go start a business and you pursue it. Michael Spence, who was a Nobel laureate in economics and also the dean at the Graduate School of Business at Stanford, rather than looking at entrepreneurship, he looked at poverty. And he said that poverty is caused by a negative asymmetry of information. So we get entrepreneurship when we have a positive asymmetry. We get poverty when we have a negative asymmetry. I think that sort of frames the issue beautifully.
So would you say that the proper information could actually help the poor come out of the loop of the poverty?
That's exactly where I've ended up. I didn't start with such a far-ranging conclusion, but the more that I've studied social problems and information, the more I've come to realize this absence of information repeats itself in almost every major social problem. So, for example, if you look at people that are disadvantaged in the United States, many of them don't even know that there are banks that will lend money. They do not know that there are banks that have bank accounts. That's a classic example of an asymmetry of information, which clearly holds those people back, because if you don't have a bank account in the United States, you're not part of the formal economy. And if you're not part of the formal economy, it's very hard to secure any resources. But it's just an example.
How would you say that we can reduce, with connectivity or without connectivity, the gap to access to information?
I think that the biggest issue is actually just recognizing this very close relationship between access to information and social problems, and then being very methodical. I mean, the good news is it's very inexpensive to access information. It's very inexpensive to archive and curate information in this day and age. So really, I think what we really have to do is we just have to help people to realize that this information exists, make sure that they can read it and comprehend it. And then I believe that human nature will lead to individual empowerment, which eventually turns to entrepreneurship. So I just want to get people individually empowered. I know that they will then become entrepreneurs.
I was recently talking to a researcher from the National University, and he said that his mother and his grandmother have been librarians, and most of the people thought that librarians were going to disappear because of all this access to information, internet, etc. But he was saying, I actually do think that they're going to become more important because they are going to integrate all those digital things. But the main idea now is that curation is going to be actually the next step.
Yeah, I've been saying that for about 5 years, that
Yes.
I think that's a really big opportunity. And interestingly, I have a personal story that kind of illustrates this point, and it was a friend of mine that made me realize it. If you ask me a question about entrepreneurship and I want to give you a document, I no longer go to Google and do a search. I go to my Evernote, which includes 7,000 notes, and I get your document from my Evernote. So I have curated everything that I've read for the last 8 years in Evernote. It's the proof of your point, I think. And people make fun of me now. They ask me for anything and they say, oh, Hacker's going to go to his Evernote. But the fact of the matter is, if it's a subject that I read on, I have a note.
You're creating a mini net in the net.
Exactly, but it's what you're forecasting. And I think more and more people, first they have to realize it. Once they realize it, then they're going to see the power of it. You know, it's funny, I'd love to talk to the CEO at Evernote, because I'm not sure that even he really appreciates this.
Are you listening? Damn.